New York Giants and the Miami Dolphins. Dolphins are 12.5 to 13-point favorites over the New York Football Giants. 47.5 is your total, Adam. I know, buddy. This Giants season is going to be rough for you, it seems. And I said this, and I actually stand by this. In history will have its own narrative for all of this, and we don't actually really know. But Daniel Jones to me is like this generation version of David Carr, where it's like we're never really going to know whether he was any good or not because he had horrible offensive lines for the entire time he was there. All of his skill players were always hurt. He never was playing with a full complement of weapons. Like, we have no idea if David Carr was any good or not because David Carr was just sitting there getting hammered the entire time that he was in the NFL. And then he just goes down as a bust, even though we didn't get a true evaluation. I almost think that that's kind of the case here with Daniel Jones, where I mean, dude, it's what do you expect him to do? I mean, like he's catching a lot of heat for what would be a difficult situation for every quarterback in the NFL, and that includes Patrick Mahomes. Like, this would be a bad situation for every quarterback in the entire National Football League. So I don't know. That being said, it's 12.5 to 13. Do you think that they can keep it within 2 touchdowns?
No. Now let me give you a quote from a story that I pulled earlier this week where The Athletic asked multiple NFL defensive coaches what's going on with the quarterbacks in New York, right? This is a direct quote from an NFL defensive coach about Daniel Jones. Quote, "It's very noticeable how little they make him play like an NFL quarterback. He has the easiest reads and the easiest concepts, and still he does not throw the ball accurately. He doesn't throw the correct leverage, doesn't throw the receivers open, just doesn't do it. I'm giving you zero opinions. This is all the tape shows." And so I agree with you, Matt. It is impossible to get a full read on Daniel Jones, but that's enough of a read on Daniel Jones for me right now. And I don't put this on Dable. I don't even put this on Joe Shane. They're still cleaning up the Dave Gettleman mess. Last year was fun, and it was a great outcome as a Giants fan to at least be able to enjoy the season, win a playoff game, but it also kind of screwed them on the evaluation of this team for the medium term because they were in a spot where they had to choose on Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley to at least say, well, we did have some success and we need to try to run this back if we had some level of success. We can't just go completely into rebuild mode with a fan base that we just showed we can get to the NFC divisional round. Well, didn't happen, right? Didn't happen the way that it needed to happen. This is the worst offensive line in football. It's not close. PFF rates it number 32. And I believe that I told you guys last week before the end of the podcast that the New York Giants were going to get destroyed on Monday Night Football. And that's not even a great Seattle defensive line, right? That is a Seattle defense that has not been outstanding. It's been okay. And they sacked Daniel Jones 11 times. It was comical by the end of the game if you're not Daniel Jones. So now this week, you get a Miami team that, all right, let's talk about that side for a second. I think people are going to overreact to last week and seeing Miami put up 20 points, especially 6 after the first 2 drives of the game where they marched it down against Buffalo. Going back and looking at what happened to them in this spot, the Raheem Mostert fumbles really cost them. Tua sailed the ball later in the game. The turnovers went against them. Buffalo took advantage of everything. I did not move Miami down after last week, especially considering they didn't have their best edge rusher to go after Josh Allen. Maybe that's folly based on how the defense has played for Miami against some elite offenses, but I still think that this Miami team, when it's all said and done, is going to be right there in the mix to win the AFC. So look, am I in a big hurry to lay 12.5 with Miami? No. Keep an eye on first half numbers. If you can find something at 7 or less on Miami, I think you're in a really good spot there with how bad the Giants offense has been. It's sitting 7.5 right now. I don't expect it to come back the other direction, but if you were to happen to see that, and then keep an eye on what's happening at halftime in this game, because I do think you probably have a second half underlook if you have that opportunity. I don't think the Giants can score. I think Miami can score a lot. There's no way the Giants stay within the number.
Steven, if we are looking, and this is just trying not to get ahead of ourselves here, but if we are looking to get any Dolphins futures tickets in, now's the time to do that. Their schedule, 3 of the next 4 weeks is Giants, Panthers, Patriots. Now there is an Eagles game mixed in there, which they will probably lose, but you're going to get 3 out of the next 4 as wins for this Dolphins team. And so any price you're going to get is going to be decimated after that. So that's at least something to bring up. If you do want to back the Dolphins, you want to go ahead and get in and do that now. The other thing is, and I don't want to gloss over this, Steven, they're bringing in Chase Claypool. So I know that's going to be, he's going to make a big difference for this offense because they've been struggling, with their wide receiver core. So Chase Claypool is really going to put them over the edge.
Chase Claypool better decide he wants to play football because he's walking.
Actually, he's going to decide whether can I have the ego to be a wide receiver 5 because that's essentially what he is for this team.
I thought they just brought him in for the blocking. Isn't he not there for the blocking?
Oh boy.
Goodness gracious. So Adam said everything quite nicely. I'm going to look ahead here and just pose the question and let you guys answer. If the Dolphins are about -13 at home against the Giants this week, then shouldn't I consider a bet on Miami -10.5 at home against the Panthers next week? Because there's no way that number closes 10.5 if the principals get out of this game healthy. I mean, I have the Panthers rated basically 31 or 32 in the league this year. I know the Giants aren't much higher than that, but the Panthers are worse. So that's just one angle I'm considering and looking at here. I thought it was interesting that we've seen this line movement with Miami this week and a worse opponent next week, and the line is better.
I think we're all in agreement, though, that there's not really a true path to victory here for the Giants. And so with that, if you're in a survivor pool that has already been decimated, and most of them have, and there's only a handful of teams left and all that, you might just want to play the Dolphins this week. I just don't know if there's a clear path to victory. Adam, do you see the Giants figuring out a way to get this done?
Guys, there's no way they can do this. Yeah. Right. I'm telling you real clearly, they haven't forced a turnover. It's week 5. They haven't forced a turnover. And if you want to have any chance to beat this Miami team with the talent deficit that you have, they haven't forced a turnover. So to answer Steven's question, I don't know that I'm in a big hurry to lay double digits pre-injury situation when you've got a quarterback as brittle as Tua. So I'm probably not getting in on that. But if you want to look ahead to next week and you want to play something next week, the Giants are still inside of 2 touchdowns at Buffalo next week. At Buffalo, the team that just beat Miami by 28 points. It is 12.5 in one spot, 13 in the other. If you want a shot next week, get Buffalo at less than 2 touchdowns at home against Daniel Jones.
There it is.